So thank you everyone for joining us for this month's Microsoft Productivity Power Hour for the month of August. Just as a friendly reminder, this meeting and all of our meetings are recorded and posted in our community YouTube channel. If you don't wish to be recorded, then stay on mute and stay off camera, or you can disengage from the call entirely and watch the recording when it's posted, usually by tomorrow. As always, our Microsoft Productivity Power Hour is sponsored by NTC Tech and CISA Tech. And I'm your host, Nikkia Carter. My other host that you're used to seeing, Harry Carter, he had to run to a meeting, so he is not available today. But this Microsoft Productivity Power Hour is one that happens monthly, the first Tuesday of every month. And we focus on Microsoft Office 365 and unlocking the power of the cloud for you when you are working as an employee or as a business owner, as a business lead, things like that. Our perspective is from the end user, business owner perspective for the most part, but sometimes we do have sessions that are more citizen developer type sessions, because even business owners need to develop things from time to time. Our sessions are demo with some Q&A, so if you have questions, please make sure that you use the, come on slide, there we go. Please make sure that you use the chat window before you forget. If we have time at the end, of course, I will open up the time so that questions can be asked. But just in case, because this one is going to be an action-packed session, just in case you have a question and I'm rolling along, since I can't really keep my eyes on the chat and everything all at the same time, please make sure you put it in the chat window so that I will see it when I get to it and be able to address it for you or address it after the fact. So I always have to give this disclaimer. What we're using is cloud technology, and all cloud technology, including Microsoft's, is always being updated. So there may be a time where I might end up fumbling for a minute because they moved a button or something like that. So please excuse any inconsistencies between our presentation today, our presentation slides, and the current portal, if there are any. All right. So last month we talked about Excel, and we saw how we can use Excel to turn raw data, our business data, into real insights that you could use as a business leader or business owner. Today we're going to talk about Teams, and we're going to talk about how we can use Teams, which we're on right now for this meeting, to streamline communication and enable collaboration. So we're going to look at organizing or conversations, scheduling meetings, sharing files, using chat mentions and notifications, and connecting Teams to things like Planner and OneNote. So why does Microsoft Teams matter? Well, you could have conversations all over the place. Like if you're in certain markets, you could be using WhatsApp plus Teams plus some other chat bot or something like that. Not really a chat bot. Some other chat platform, and you could just have stuff all over the place. Also, you could be emailing files back and forth, sharing files through SharePoint, all these things. And then, of course, you have meetings and such. Well, Teams brings together chats, meetings, files, and apps all into one workspace. So when you learn how to use it well, you have less time with the context switching because everything is in Teams that you could access, or a lot of stuff is in Teams that you can access. So we're about to get into demo and look at Teams. So the first part we're going to look at is Teams and channels. And they matter because they create things in the one place for each department, project, initiative, client, so forth and so on. Keeps everything from that project or that client or initiative all in one spot, so you can have your conversations, your files, your notes, and the decisions made all in the same spot, which can help you reduce the where the heck did I put that thing moment. All right, so for our first demo, now these steps are not like the steps that you've seen in previous. These are more steps of what things we're going to go look at. So we're going to look at Teams. We're going to actually open Teams in the browser. You could do this in either Teams in the browser or Teams on your in your app, on your desktop app. You can also do a lot of this on Teams on your phone as well. So we're going to open up Teams in the browser. We're going to review the difference between a team and a channel. We're going to create or review and review a team. We're also going to create and review a channel for a topic or a project or something like that. We're going to discuss what standard, private, and shared channels are and when to use which. And then look at the tabs, but we're going to go more into tabs a little later, so we'll just look. We're not going to like dive down in there. And we're also going to look at the connection between SharePoint and Teams. Let me go ahead and open up my Teams environment. As I said before, if you have questions, I'll be trying to monitor the chat window. But because I don't have my co-host, it's going to be a little difficult, but make sure you put them in the chat window, and I will be pausing to make sure that if there's any questions, I address them. All right. So right now we have our Teams open. Again, I'm using the browser. As you can see, the browser tabs are up here. But I could have easily opened, this could easily have been Teams on the desktop app of Teams. And like I said, a lot of this stuff also works on the mobile app of Teams. So the way I opened it is I went to office.com. I signed into my M365 account. I went to the app launcher, and then I clicked on Teams here. You could also open up, if you end up using browsers that are connected to your Microsoft Edge browsers, if you have them connected to different accounts, you can also open up one of those browsers, go to office.com, and if you're already signed in, it will just sign you straight in. Or you can go to teams.microsoft.com in that browser window, and it will sign you straight into Teams. Okay. But now that we have it open, let's look at the difference between Teams and channels. Now, there's a couple of things here that we'll end up talking about in a minute, like the chats part. But right now we're going to look at Teams and channels. This is one of the places where you could have like the different projects or by departments or different initiatives that you may be working on, or you may be working with a client and you want to be able to have contact and communication with them on a quicker basis, as well as a place for them to grab documents and things like that. So you can invite external people as well to Teams, depending on how your M365 environment is whoops, didn't mean to click on that, is set up. All right. But when you have these teams, as you can see, I have a bunch of them. This is in my dev. So we have a bunch of different dev places. Like, for example, this one is a place for a hospital setup company to be able to work through setting up hospitals. This is another place where SharePoint training is being given and also collaborated on and created for the teachers that work in this area. So each Teams, so these things on the outside, SharePoint training, Ghana National Communication, Miriam Graham, Happy Life, all of those are teams. And within a team, you can have multiple different channels to do multiple different things. Now the Teams itself doesn't really have like chat or any other thing like that. You actually have to click on one of the channels in order to open up and see the things like the posts, things that are shared, other tabs that you might have here. So Teams contains channels. All right. So when you want to create a new Teams, you can go up to this little, well, first of all, you got to be in the chat bubble here. This one up here is activity, which we'll look at a little later. But you need to be in the chat bubble right here in order for you to be able to create a Teams. So you click on that chat bubble, and then you see some options under this. It says new message, but you click on the little drop down next to it, and you have the message, the new channel, storyline, join a team, make a new Teams, join communities, and you can make sections. So we talked that I said that I would create a new team. So let's go ahead and create that. So I'm going to click on that. I'm going to create a Teams called Power Hour. And let's look at some of the things that are here when I'm creating it. But before I do that, I want to also mention that there are more options for creating teams. So right now what I'm about to do is create a blank one, but you can create a Teams from a template. So if you click on that more options, it takes you to this page where you can create from a template that you might have created, like this one's one that we actually created ourselves, or ones that Microsoft gives you. There's a bunch of different options here. You can create from a Teams that's already there. So if you have a Teams that you want to use as your mold for your next one, you can choose it from there. Also, if you have any M365 groups that were created but weren't necessarily attached to a Teams, you can attach a Teams to them through here. Let me go ahead and go back, and then we're going to go back to this drop down. Whoopsie, let me close that. Go back to the drop down and create a new team. So like I said, I'm going to name it Power Hour. Okay. Now you can put a description here. It is actually a pretty good idea for you to put a description there, especially if you're going to create a template out of it later, or other people may use it as a template. So you could put a description here. I'm not going to right now, just for sake of time. Then there's different Teams types. So you have your private teams, which, your private teams, which means that people need permission to join. They don't just automatically just stumble across your team and say, oh, that looks interesting, and just join from your organization. No, they actually have to be made members manually by somebody who's creating the team or somebody who is the owner. Then there is the public team, which basically once you create it in your organization, anybody can go search for the team in your organization, find the team, and join themselves. And then there's the org-wide teams. Now these org-wide teams are ones where anyone and everyone in your organization automatically is added to it. And that can be very helpful when you might have a mid-size to a large organization, and you want to make sure that people have access to certain things, access to the community, the company-wide chat, access to company-wide messaging, maybe messaging from the leader. And this can even work for smaller companies, so it doesn't necessarily have to be a big company thing. So I'm going to make mine public. And then you have to give it, anytime you see a red asterisk in the Microsoft world, or an asterisk beside something that you need to fill in, that red asterisk means that it is required. It will not let you move forward unless you fill it in. So you got to give a name for the first channel. Now, I always give it the name of the team plus whatever name I want to name the channel. So before, there used to be channels they would automatically give you named main or named general. But now they give you the ability to skip having a general or main channel by making your own. Now, the reason why I do it this way is because of how I can actually add things into different categories, but I'll show you that a little later. So I'm going to name this Power Hour Main. And if I don't put the name in front of it, when I add it to the place where I see a bunch of teams, all I'm going to see is main, 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 main. And I'm not going to know what teams it goes to. So that's why I put the name of the teams in the beginning. All right. So then I'm going to create it. And then you'll be able to see another team's name Power Hour in a second. Well, actually, first it's going to come up with the members part. But another team will be created that'll say Power Hour. And then when you click on the drop down, it'll say Power Hour Main for the first channel. And when you're creating the teams, you have to add members, or you usually have to add members. You can also add guests to your teams if your organization is allowing it in your Office 365 settings, which means you could actually use somebody's email address and put it in here and they get it. Now they're going to have a Microsoft account, and you can change any email address into a Microsoft account for free. You can sign up. There's plenty of people that have their Gmail account signed up as a Microsoft account because they don't want to set up a whole nother account with Outlook, which is a Microsoft account. Or if you use somebody else's M365 email address, that's also a Microsoft account, or their Dynamics email address, or their Xbox profile email address. But I'm going to use people that's internal in the organization. So I'm going to use two of my folks. So let's do Harry and let's do Sigul. Okay. Now I can add as many people as I like to add to my list, and then I can say which type of member this person is going to be. Are they going to be a member, which means they get to participate in the teams, but they can't really create channels unless you have that setting set for them. They can't really add other people to the teams and things like that. Only owners can do certain things. Or you can make the person an owner. All right. So I'm going to make Sigil an owner because I see Sigil on the call. He might need to help me out here sometimes, but I think I can do most of this demoing by myself. But anyway, so I have one member and one owner. And yes, you can go back and change people. As long as you're the owner, you can go and change people's permissions. So, actually, they have a skip button. So you can skip the teams, members and owners, adding those folks. But usually I add people right as I'm creating the teams. Now I'm going to click add, and now that the team is created, now it's going to add those people that I asked for. And there's my Power Hour. There's my Power Hour main. And each of these things has a few options. So for the teams, I can do things like add members, add channels. I can manage the team, which is where I can manage the members. This one's just adding a member. This isn't managing the members. So if there's like a member that you need to add later, or you need to demote to a member or promote to an owner, you can do that there. You can manage any tags that you might be using. You can copy a link, but this link is only useful for people internally to your organization, and only if and only to the people who can access it. So if it's a public Teams, you could give it to anybody in your organization. If it's a private Teams, you can only give that link to people who were privately invited to that Teams. And they, of course, will get an email. Forgot to mention that when they get added as a member. You can also see the archive, and you can leave the team, and you can delete the team from here as well. When it comes to the channels, a little bit different. You got your channel notifications, so you can actually set notifications here for your channels. You got this thing where you can actually put it in different categories, which I'll talk about in a minute, because I actually think I don't have that as part of my demo, but I'm going to go ahead and tell you about that. You can edit the channel, which will edit the channel's name. You can manage the channel, which actually, let me just click on that so you can see the options. Those options are just settings and analytics. So if you want to see the engagement on the channel, you can see it there. Same thing with, let's see. So let's look at the Manage here for teams. For the team part, you have more options, but you also still have analytics here. So you can see the people who have been accessing, how many people have been accessing, what's the engagement, how active is this community or team, etc. To go back to here, you can copy the link. You can get the email address, again, only useful for people who can actually access it. The workflows one, I think it just manages the workflows for the teams, but this is something that is a little bit newer, so I don't really have any explanation on it at the moment. You can also hide the channel. So for example, if there's a bunch of channels that you're looking at, like maybe you're looking at this Teams, and you don't care about troubleshooting, you can hide that channel. You can always get it back by seeing all channels. So if I were to, let's go here, and let's hide this channel. There it goes, hide the channel. So now it's not in my list in here anymore, but I can go get it by seeing all channels, going down to the channel that I just hid, which actually I need to show that one, and then hit the show button, and that will show it again. Now, the reason why I was talking about naming the channel that you get to name with the name of the teams is because of the show in. There's categories that you can create when you're in this Teams chat area. Let me close these down so you can see it a bit more. You automatically get favorites. You automatically get chats. You automatically get teams and channels and communities. But you can create things called categories by clicking this drop down right here and then choosing, I'm sorry, not categories, sections. You can create a new section. So you can click that and create a new section, let's say repeating meetings. And that way, things that you need to get to quickly, you can have your own little category sections of what you want to access quickly. So say, for example, for that Teams channel, if I go down here for actually, I'll just use this one. No, I won't use that one. I need that Power Hour channel, actually. Okay, so let's see. Where is it? Okay, it's right here. All right. So here is the same option. So I can choose to move this one to say, for example, in my team. I want to be able to get to this channel quickly. So I would move it to the section called My Team. And then, as you can see, if I hadn't named it Power Hour Main, then it would just say main, and I might not know what it belongs to. All right. Let me see. So the other thing, so create the channel. Oh, create the channel. Okay. So we created the teams. I'm going to go back to my, oh, I hate that it's like not showing up here. But I can add a channel into any of my teams by just going to, let's take this one. I can go to my teams and I can hit add channel. Or if I have it open like I have right here, then I can click the add channel button right here. And then I can add a whole nother channel. So let's say Power Hour, this is meeting coordination or session coordination, actually, event coordination. Okay. All right. Now when I create a new channel, you see the red asterisk, I got to give it a name. You also have the description, which would be helpful for you to put it in, but the channel descriptions only show up on the team's channel page, so it's not as helpful as giving the description to the teams, because that shows up when you're trying to use one of your teams as a template and things like that. But yeah, you could put one in there. Then you have your channel types. They're standard, so everyone on the team already has access when you have a standard. So Sigil and Harry would both have access to the standard team. They're shared, so it could be shared with other people and teams in the org and outside of the org that can have access. And then the private one puts a little lock beside it, and only the members that you add to this private one, because they will make you add members, only those members, which are a subset of the members from the teams, are the ones that you're going to be able to add into the private channel. I'm going to make this thing standard, and then I also have the ability to choose a layout. Do I want threads where, you know, it's just chats all over the place? Or do I kind of want it posts where there's something that you post, there's the message, and then you can add, each person can chat on that post thread. I actually like that better than threads. I think threads works best only for chats. But for teams, when you're working together and there could be so many different messages flying all over the place, this helps you to categorize those messages into one single block that people can just reply to onto that block without without the message potentially getting lost. So I'm going to click on that, and I'm going to click on Create. Okay, and that's my new channel now, still under the Power Hour, and it has a few tabs, and again, we'll go over the tabs in a minute more deeply, but for starters, there's Posts, there's Shared, which is where your files go, there's Page, which is a wiki page type thing. I usually delete this thing, and then there's Notes, which is OneNote notebook. When you're in a channel, these channels are connected, well, actually Teams itself. When you create a Teams, it creates a SharePoint behind the scenes. They're connected through the document library that's on the SharePoint side and the shared or files, because sometimes this thing is named files instead of shared. This is connected to the document library and the SharePoint site that is created behind the back in the background. Okay. Taking a minute for it to come up. But, whoops, oh, I didn't want to click there. Actually, I meant to click here. Okay. You can get to the SharePoint behind the scenes by going to the Shared or Files tab, and then go click on these three dots on the action bar and open in SharePoint. Now, I'm not going to do it because we're not talking about SharePoint today. That's in our next two events are going to be on SharePoint. All right. So channels keep teamwork from becoming long, messy conversations, and keeps things in their prospective work stream. So now let's look at, and I don't think I see anything in the chat. Okay, all right. So now let's look at chats, posts, and notifications. So message management matters because in Teams because of the chat feature. Chats help you have quick conversations, usually one-on-one, but you can also set it for groups of people. The chat posts can be visible. The channel posts, which is different than the chats. So I'm talking about the channels and the teams as opposed to the chats, which I'm going to show you, which can be one-to-one or one-to-many as well. The channel posts are for team-wide visibility. But either way, you can mention people in either the chat or the Teams channel chat, which will draw special attention to that person. And you can use notifications. You can change your notification settings if you want to make sure that you're getting notifications from that channel, or make sure you don't get any because you're getting too many. All right. So now we're going to look at kind of the difference between chat and Teams. We're going to look at starting a Teams a chat one-on-one. We'll also look at presence, and I'll show you at mention. Then we'll look at the difference between chat and the Teams by looking at the Teams message, and then we'll look at the Teams message messaging place that you can also reply using the thread as opposed to post, although I set post for the one that I just created. And you can at mention, you can at mention people in the teams or the whole team or the channel or the specific channel that you're in each of the channels in the message post for that. And then there's notifications that we kind of saw already, but I'll just point it out again. And then I'll point out quickly about the activities and where you can see some of these notifications and unread messages. Okay. All right. So let's go to chats now. Now the chats that I have right now are one-to-one. So this one is one person. This one's one person, but this is a channel that comes out of a team. So they're all in the same section, but they're different things. So if you notice here, when I go to Harry, I have a few things here. I can chat. I can still share files. There's a notebook here. There's the recap for like any recaps that we might have going on, like different meetings that we might have had one-on-one. Storyline, I think that just shows the activity of stuff that's going on. Although this is a newer tab, so I don't necessarily know what's going on there right now. When your folks are online, you can tell because of this little bubble right here. Now, Harry's not online, so you see in the bubble there's an X there, which means he's offline. But the bubble could be green, which means they're online and available. Yellow, which means they're online, but they stepped away from the computer or they stopped touching the keyboard for a certain amount of time. Red, which means they either marked themselves busy or they might be in a meeting, because Teams and Outlook are also very connected. So Teams will read your schedule and see if you're in a meeting, or if you happen to be in the Teams meeting, it will mark you red. There's also do not disturb, which you can set, but you got to remember to unset it, because if you do that, a lot of people won't be able to reach you at all. You can set your own presence by clicking on, wrong personage. You can set your own presence by clicking on your little personage over here in the upper right-hand corner of your Teams window. And here are the settings that or the presences that I just talked about. You can also set yourself to appear away, which is kind of deceitful, but sometimes it's necessary because you might be getting hit by a lot of people trying to reach out, and maybe you're on vacation, so you don't want to really be looking like you're really at work, because you're not really at work, but you went to check something and you don't want everybody to know that you're checking stuff. So you can do that. Oh, this is new. You can set a duration on, okay. You can set a duration on your availability, which can be very helpful for this do not disturb one, because like I said, if you set it to do not disturb, any body that you don't already have an open chat with, they won't be able to ping you at all. And I mean, the chat has to be open, like you recently went in there and was chatting back and forth with them. Okay. All right. Now, this is a little different than the channel. The channel in Teams, in that when I post something in the post for the Teams, everybody can see it. Although I can use an @ mention there, just like I can use an @ mention here. Now, why would you want to use an @ mention um, for a chat that is only to this one specific person? The reason why is because it causes a little bit extra. It gives a little bit extra oomph to the thing that is being chatted about. So if they don't have notifications turned on, this makes sure that they get that ping. Now, when you look at it in your teams, so let's look at this Power Hour main. Because wait a minute, no, I did it in the other channel. It wasn't in this one. Let me go to Power Hour. Okay, the event coordination. Now for this one, I believe I set the post to be a yes. Instead of it being the thread type post where it's just chat, 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 chat all over the place, here's where you can set like, I'm talking about this thing. Here's my message. Okay, so I'm just going to put, for sake of time, because I got a lot more to show y'all, but running out of time. So I'm going to post that. And then you can see that there is this conversation going on this topic right here. And then people can reply in line to the topic. And that can be really helpful when, again, you're in a Teams with a whole bunch of people and you're trying to uh, call attention to a specific topic, but everybody's having all these different conversations. If you have it like this, then you can have it just have a conversation just on this one topic that everybody can reply to. But if you have it this other way, let's go back to, say, for example, the single chat. There is the ability to reply with quote by right-clicking on the message that you're trying to reply to, and then choose reply with quotes. And then that refers back to, let's say hi, whoopsie, hi again. That refers back to the previous message. So if somebody, say there was a lot of stuff in here, somebody can see, oh, you said something about this thing that I said, they can go back and click on that, and it actually takes them back to the previous message. So you can still kind of, tie things to the same thing that you're talking about, but it's easier to do when you have that more post like thing as opposed to just threads of conversation. All right. Like I said before, you can create a group chat with multiple people. So you can click on the new message under the drop down. And then you can choose multiple people. So say I wanted to choose Harry and I wanted to put Sigel into the same chat, I can do that. All right. Now the chat sometimes, about chat, when you start a message with somebody, if you don't put a message in there and you didn't already have a message that you did before, like this one, this thing will disappear if you don't put a message in it. But if not, if you put a message in there, then let's say this, hi, put that there. Then it will show up under chats right here. So there's Harry and Sigel now. Sorry, I forgot to show you that, but Harry and Sigel was not there before. It was only these two meetings that was showing up. So now I could take this and maybe put that under the category of my team. Okay. All right, so I think I did everything here. Yes, I did. Okay, so moving on. So the right communication lane here can help so people know where to respond. All right, so now let's look at meetings, because Teams brings together meetings and files and SharePoint um, and other things all into one place. Let's look at that. Meetings matter, of course, because we all have meetings. And if you have the need to have meetings online, this can be especially helpful for you. But Teams meetings connects to Outlook, so you can have whenever you do a Teams meeting from Outlook, it'll show up in Teams. Well, actually, even if it's not a Teams meeting, it'll show up in Teams on the calendar anyway. Meeting chats give people one place to be talking about whatever happened in the meeting, even after the meeting is over. It's good meeting habit. Good meeting habits, can help you save time and energy during, before and after the call. All right. So we're going to look at scheduling a meeting and running one just really quickly because we are down to 16 minutes. So hopefully I can get through the rest of these demos. All right. So we'll look at the calendar in Teams. We'll also look at the calendar in Outlook and how they look pretty much the same. Check out some meeting types. We'll look at creating a new meeting, joining the meeting, check out some of the audio and video settings, as well as sharing the screen, the chat window, and things like that. Review meeting options like captions and recordings and notes that can be in the meeting itself, the meeting chat itself. Okay, so let's go back and look at the calendar. And I also have my Outlook up so that we can look at the calendar here too. And of course, it rebooted itself. All right, so let's open the calendar here as well. Okay. All right, so there's a couple of items on our calendar. We have our daily leadership and our daily team meetings. Now, if we go look at the team's calendar, really? Okay, let me scroll up here. And then you'll see those meetings load in. Here's your leadership and your team's meeting. Same exact meetings, two different calendars, but same exact meeting. Now I can create a new meeting by clicking on the new button, which will just create a new event meeting. But there's also different types of meetings that I can create, like a webinar, which allows you to have registration, the town hall, which is for big audiences inside of your organization, immersive events, which I haven't done this one yet, but looks like hosts 3D events. Didn't know about that. That one's a new one. The virtual appointment, where guests can join via the web and enter through a tailored lobby. And then you can create your own template of stuff. But let's go ahead and just look at the new events. And it looks pretty much just like you would see for an Outlook event. Adding the title, adding the people that you want to add. There's this drop down right here for some of the options like requesting responses and allowing forwarding and hiding the attendees list. And this is where, because for a minute I could not find this, and they moved it under here. The optional attendees, you click on that and then you get the optional attendees line. You have the place where you can do the dates and the times with the time zone and set it to all day and recurring. It also gives you time suggestions, and if you've been in the new Outlook, that looks just like that. You can see your schedule on the side, so you know that, okay, this might be a good time, but maybe not that time because it's got something in that block. You can add your description and your agenda, but even in Outlook, actually, you have this toggle right here for making it a Teams meeting. Now, if you want the meeting to be like the one we're in right now, then of course you want to add a Teams meeting. Sometimes you might even want to do a Teams meeting for you to record the screen for you to do your own recording of something. I've done that before. I share my own screen, get into a Teams meeting, do my recording, and then I edit the whole meeting at the end. And then there are options, which isn't showing here, but let me open up one of the actual events. There are options that will, whoops, come on, that will show up when you got your people in there. And these options are for setting things like recording, making sure the recording and transcript are on. So as soon as somebody joins the meeting, it automatically starts recording. Copilot, if you have Copilot in your organization, then you'll be able to use that. Setting the different roles, or who can bypass the lobby, or who can emit people from the lobby. Let's see, I think the role, yeah, the co-organizers and who can present. So a bunch of different options here that you can set up for your meeting ahead of time. When you actually have your meeting, though, or after or before, there's this chat bubble that you could click on when you open up the meeting like this. You can click on the chat in order to get to the chat around the meeting, which is the same as the chat window in the meeting that we're in right now. So before the meeting, you could be chatting with people. After the meeting, you could be chatting with people. Same thing, chatting with those meeting attendees inside of the meeting itself. Okay. So instead of like starting a whole new meeting and such like that, I'm just going to slide this thing over. I see somebody had a question, but I'm just going to slide this over here real quick. So not sure if y'all can still hear me. Okay, there we go. I don't know, I had a disturbance for a second. You can see all the people that are in the meeting. You can control what happens with the people. So for example, if you need to make somebody who is an attendee, make them a presenter, you can do that. If you wanted to demote somebody who is a presenter to an attendee, you can do that. You can spotlight certain people. You can share things like I'm sharing right now on my screen. When you click on that share button, it will say, and right now it's saying stop sharing, but it would have a little drop down and you click on it. And then you could choose, if you have multiple screens, you can choose which screen you want to have open. You can also load in certain programs, so like loading in your PowerPoint presentation. You can do that. You can mute, turning on and off your camera. There's different reactions that you can post, like this one. You can raise your hand to say, hey, I got a question, just in case somebody is talking, but you want to make sure that they note that you have a question. You can open the chat window by clicking on the chat bubble. All right. And then one more thing before we get off of meetings is once you talk in the chats for any of the meetings, they will show up under your chats. Under the chat bubble right here, under chats, they'll show up here. But then you have the option, like I set up this brand new swanky section. I have the option to add maybe certain reoccurring meetings. I want to make sure I have them in a section so that I can get to them easily. And now I have it there. But it would show up first under chats. And that's how you can get back also to the chats of previous meetings that you've been through. So if you type in the chat window or you have the meeting, it will show up under chats. Okay, so let me take a look at this question. Will it automatically update the time zone for attendees when the meeting notice is sent out? Yes. So they will get the meeting. You can do your own time zone, or you can set it to whoever else's time zone. And it will show up on everybody's calendar in their own time zone. So no worries about trying to figure out yeah, you ain't got to worry about all that. Unless you really want to make sure that, say, for example, you're on the East Coast and the States, and you want to set up a meeting with somebody in, say, Ghana, and you want to set it up for GMT time to make sure that you have the right time on your schedule, you can choose the little globe for the meeting, for the meeting time zone, and then let me see if I can get pretty fast. For the meeting time zone, and then you can use that to look at your calendar on the sidebar and say, does that really match my schedule, or do I have something in that slot? And that way you can kind of get an idea of where things are falling and all of that stuff. So yes. All right, let me close that and leave out of here. Okay. So meetings work better when the agenda and discussions and the follow-ups all stay connected into one spot, making it easy for you to get back to the meeting, see the transcripts and the recaps and all of that stuff. Oh, and after the meeting, you will see a thing that gets posted in the chat for the transcript and the recap if you turned on the recording. If you didn't turn on the recording, then you won't have any meeting recording. But if you did, then you'll see the meeting recording there as well. Okay, we got 5 minutes, and I am not going to make it. So I think I made this one a little bit too robust. But for those folks who can stay a little bit longer, I'm going to go ahead and continue the recording of this session until I've completely finished. That way, it'll be on the YouTube meeting. I mean, the YouTube video, which you can go back and watch. But I'm going to go ahead and close out for now, and then I'm going to come back to this demo part 4 and then continue on through the rest of it. So for those of you that need to leave, you'll at least get the closeout, the message, the closeout message. Even though we're not really concluding right now, for those of you who may have to go, the key takeaways is Teams and channels and chats and posts and files and all of that stuff work great inside of Teams, especially if you're a person that likes to just work in one context. Teams can control a lot of the contexts that you may work in, so you don't have to keep on doing all these context switching between different applications. You can work on a lot of stuff inside of Teams, including shared files and your tabs with the different apps that you can add, which I'm going to go through before I end this session. So I have a few promos I want to make sure that you all are aware of. And one of them is licensing. Do you have the right licensing for your org, especially for your industry? A lot of people have Microsoft licensing, and they think they got the right thing, but then they realize, oh, I'm in this industry and I need more compliance, or I have these things going on and I need more security. Certain licenses don't give you those things, or I need SharePoint, I need Teams. If you chose the wrong license, you might not get those things, and then you might be confused on why you don't have them. So we have a licensing assessment. It's $500 per or 5,000 CDs if you're in Ghana per assessment or per organization, because you only need one assessment. And what you'll get is a consultation where we review all your licenses, then we'll give you a report based on the licenses that you should have for your organization and especially for your industry and the why. And then we can also help you get those licenses corrected as well. And then we also have the small business, nonprofit, and startup bundled package, where you get support hours each month, as well as things built for you each month, consulting hours each month. So you get help desk support during business hours. You get things developed for your organization every month so that you're able to get a great return on your investment for your Microsoft 365 investment. You get consultations. So you might not know what might be best for you, but we can definitely help and do this all the time, guide organizations on what would be best for their organization, as well as what would be best for that organization being in a specific industry that might have more compliance needs or more security needs. So we make sure that you don't violate anything. And also access to training, as well as sometimes live trainings that you would also have access to. So for those of you who have to go, I know it's 1 minute till. Any final questions? For those folks that might have to go. If not, I'm about to go back to demo 4 and keep it moving. Okay. So let me go back to my demo 4. And that would have been, oh crap, come on, PowerPoint. Okay. So going back now to demo part 4, talking about files and co-authoring. Okay. So files and teams matter because it helps you to be able to work on things, different files and things that you may have, share them in channels amongst people, share them in chats and things like that, and you'll be able to work on those things with the different people that you may be chatting with and or have in a team with you. Co-authoring can also reduce the need for attaching a file to an email and then sending it to somebody and then having to name it final and then final and then final. That makes it easier for you to be able to use the SharePoint versioning that's behind the scenes, keeping track on in each and every version of the file that you're doing. All right. So now we're going to look at the files. So we're going to go to the Files tab in the channel. We're going to look at how you can upload or create a Word document, how you could open that file inside of Teams or the browser. I can't really do the real-time collaboration because I don't have my co-host with me to do that. But there's ways that you can collaborate on a document as well as comment on the document. And you can share a link in the channel instead of emailing the attachment all over the place. So let's look at that. Oops. Here we go. Okay. All right. So if we go to one of the channels, now I'll just go to Power Hour. Okay. There's the different tabs at the top. And like I said, the channel that you're looking, the tab that you're looking for under the channel would be either called Files or Shared. So you click on that. And when you get in here, you'll notice that you have the ability to see all the documents. You can see documents that are in certain messages. You can share documents from here, but you really need to share this whole place. But there's also when the action bar clicks open, like if I open, let's see, if I can create a document from here, which I'll try to do really quickly. I can also upload a document in here as well. And because I'm using the browser, it actually opened it in a new tab instead of opening it in the Teams. But as you can see, it is here already. I could do things like sharing this, this file from here. And because it's already in the Teams and already here, I can actually just share the link in the conversation that I'm having amongst people in this channel, on this team, and talk about the file there. And then they can click on the file and get into it. Of course, it's opening a whole nother one. So let me just close that. And it'll open it either in Teams, if you're on Teams desktop. If you're in the browser, it opens it into another window. Now, when I'm in here, you can co-author the file. Now, we talked about co-authoring in previous sessions, so I'm not going to go deep into co-authoring right now. But you can work together in the same file at the same time and actually see where each other is in the file. There'll be little marching flags with the color of that person there. You'll also see little bubbles up here that'll show that a person's either like a color with their initial, or if they have a profile pic, then it'll show their little profile pic. So you'll be able to see the people that are in the file with you. Let me move this over and close this stuff. Okay. So you can create all types of files that are Microsoft files, Word, Excel, PowerPoint, even OneNote, and you can use the Excel form survey if you want to make a survey using Excel form survey mode. And you can also do Visio diagrams if you have that licensing. And then you have a few other things that you can do here as well. You can also use this link. So if there's something that you need everybody to, like a file that lives somewhere else, but you want it to be here too, but you don't want to have it in two different places, you can use the link instead of like uploading the file into two different places and then having to manage it in two different places. Okay. Now, I don't have this here, but I'm going to show you one more place where files are real quick. And that is, they moved it, but maybe it's called OneDrive now. Let's go there. Okay. Yes. So this is showing my OneDrive files. So I can also work on my OneDrive files here. There was also a place where you could see all the files that you have in different teams across all of those teams and chats, but they moved it somewhere and I don't have time to go look for it. But they used to have that here. Maybe they got rid of it and put OneDrive here. But it's still helpful that you can get to your OneDrive as well. And you can also browse files by people, by the meeting, by the type of media it is, and so forth and so on. Oh, also the quick access into the different Teams channels. So they probably got rid of it and put this quick access here. So you can dip into this retail sales and then see all the files there. Dip into David's Teams dev and see all the files there. Okay. So the key message here is to stop sending attachments when you can use Teams and work from one share file. Or you basically, since you can co-author, not necessarily Teams, but you can co-author and use one shared file. Okay. Now there's a way to extend your Teams, and that's where tabs come in and apps come in. So tabs and apps can bring in certain things from Microsoft applications that you might want to bring in, as well as other applications that you might want to bring in. So let's look at that real quick. Okay. Now for that, you're going to need to be in the chat and you're going to need to be in a Teams channel. Okay, so I'm in this Teams channel right here. Here's some tabs that it already came with: the conversations, the shared, page, which, like I said, is a wiki style page, and then OneNote notebook for that Teams. But I can add more things by adding more apps, or I can add an existing list. These lists will come from SharePoint, or maybe some existing pages like a loop page, or maybe an existing page in SharePoint. But I'm going to click on the apps and let you see that there are lots of, so these are some of the Microsoft type applications that you can add, like a planner, plan, team store, PDF, a website, which could be a website anywhere, but you could use, if you want it to be SharePoint, then you click on see all and then use SharePoint pages instead of website. Website is for external websites. Internal intranet through SharePoint is SharePoint pages. And then this one is for like lists and libraries. Okay, so see less. But there's also the ability to use things that are, let me see, all outside of the Microsoft space, like Jira, like YouTube, like Poly, Confluence, Adobe, Remind, Dropbox, even though I don't know why you would use Dropbox if you're using OneDrive, but if you have a client that's using Dropbox and you're using OneDrive, you might want to bring that Dropbox into your Teams environment. Monday, Kanban, task board, which is like Planner. So I would kind of say use Planner instead. Trello, also like this Kanban, also like Planner. But you got a bunch of different apps that you can do, and there's way more stuff. You can even click on Get More Apps to see like way more stuff. But I'm going to go back now and close that. So the OneNote, like I said, if I wanted to like create a OneNote notebook here so that we can all take notes in the same notebook, then I would use the one that is given to me already. But if I had a notebook that I wanted to add that was already pre-existing, then I would use the OneNote, here it is, the OneNote app, and then pull in a OneNote that was already pre-existing. Okay. All right, let me close that. Okay. You know what? I didn't even go to the demo slide, but basically this is everything that I just did a second ago. All right. So this is the last demo. All right. For those of you that are like, ooh, you're almost getting close to the end. So meeting and collaboration. Oh no, I actually think I got a bonus one after that. But anyway, meeting and collaboration etiquette. So this one's more about turning discussion into action. So kind of give you an example in that. So let's go back to my Teams, and I'll give you a short example. Say you're in this SharePoint training, and you're in this Teams, and you're one of the teachers. So you might go into the teacher's corner, which you might notice is a private place. So all the students and all the teachers could be in here, but this is only for the teachers. So I'm going to go in here and say it's the time of year where the curriculum needs to be uploaded, needs to be updated. So you could have like a conversation about, hey, teachers, where I'm mentioning everybody that's in the channel by using the channel mentioning the channel name. Letting you know, hey team, time for us to prep for creating the new curriculum. So people could be saying things in a thread, but from there, since it's time to update this curriculum, and I added a planner. Oh, really? Okay, well that's messed up. Let me do it in a different place. Let's say here. I had that pre-set up and then looked away from it, didn't even see that it didn't go. Because for some reason plans can't go into private channels, which is kind of weird. Okay, I'm gonna save that. So I could make an around assignment pickup. For example, I could add a planner plan that I already created, or I can create a brand new plan. And then in the plan, once it's created, let's just choose basic, give it a name, assignments. It's going to be shared in this group, so I don't have a choice because I'm in this channel. I'm going to create this basic plan real quick, and then I can start putting in here, planner is having a problem. I can start putting in here tasks for people around the conversation that we were having, like, okay, it's time for y'all to pick up some assignments. Maybe the student coordinator needs to pick up certain assignments from certain places. Maybe different students need to do that. Or maybe it could even be assignments that are due. And maybe you put that in a task. So you can have to-do items. You can maybe make more buckets, maybe completed assignments and assignments in progress. So you could potentially have a whole bunch of assignments here for people to have to do. And then as they do them, and assign that to one person. And then as they do them, they can move them through the buckets and let you know that, oh, okay, it's in progress now and it's done. But you can have different buckets for different things. I'm not going to go into Planner right now. I think we have a different session later this year for Planner, so stay tuned for that. But that just lets you know that you could take these conversations that you have in Teams and actually turn it into action or plans using Planner. Actually, I thought I had one more, but that was my last one. All right. So some things that you can try yourself. You can create a Teams and a channel for a real project or channels for a real project. Make sure that you name, if it's a project name, and then the different work streams under the project would be your channels. Post an announcement or a threaded conversation update. Share a file through the Files tab in one of your channels. Or even through your OneDrive in Teams, but work through Teams and see how that works and feels for you. Schedule one meeting with an agenda in Teams, or schedule it in Outlook and then make sure you click the little Teams toggle so that it becomes a Teams meeting, even though it will still show up on the Teams calendar. And then maybe add a useful tab or two for Planner or OneNote or maybe even Microsoft Forms, or maybe some other application. So that concludes my demos and such. Thanks for hanging out with me. For the folks that could hang out for this extra time, I got through everything, so yay. I don't see any things in the chat any questions in the chat that I need to address because the person that asked actually left. So I am going to go ahead and tell you about next month. So next month we're going to go over SharePoint basics. We're going to start with using lists in SharePoint to, I think it's libraries in SharePoint. Oh, I just realized the description is wrong here, but the title is right. So we're going to use SharePoint to either do files and things like that, or we're going to see how to use SharePoint and lists and things like that, and or intranet. So the QR code is right, though. I know that's right. So you could scan that QR code. That will take you to our LinkedIn page for this event. When you register for the event, don't forget to click on the add it to my calendar, and then choose your calendar type and then add it to your calendar so that you don't forget, although we will be reminding you. Our meetings are the first Tuesday of the month, so the next one that we're going to have on SharePoint that will be on SharePoint will be on the 1st of September. Thank you all so much for hanging out with me. Hopefully you learned a lot. I know my mouth is dry. And we hope to see y'all next month. All right. Have a good one.